Welcome to Adventures in Freeze Drying, and today we are going to go ahead and do an experiment. Can you prepare fruit from this year's harvest, but you don't have time to actually do jam, and just throw it in the freeze dryer, and then come December, make some fresh jam? So I kept track of how many cups were on my tray and total water lost. I'm going to go ahead and add the 1,173 grams of cool water to my 5 cups of strawberries. I'm going to let this sit for half hour, and then we'll move on with the jam process and see if, by keeping track of the water lost, if I can make jam from these freeze-dried strawberries. Hang with me, and we'll see if it works. So when I prepared these, I had simply pitted the strawberries, and then I put them in my food processor, poured them onto my trays, freeze-dried them, and broke them up just enough to get into that gallon Mylar. I would say they're still fresh. They smell good. My OA was still soft in the bag. So now it's just time to add the water and see what happens. So using my scale, I tared out my measuring glass, and I have 1,173 grams of water in here. So I'm going to add that to my strawberries. So I have my bowl of freeze-dried strawberries here. This is my water. I'm going to go ahead and add my water to the bowl. I have a feeling this will be pretty instantaneous. The big thing is I don't want it to just be water with strawberries. I want it to kind of incorporate more. So even though that seemed pretty instantaneous, and this would be kind of juiced if I had just done this with my strawberries, I am going to let this sit and really soak up, because I mean that was way quick, but we're going to let it sit a half hour just to be on the safe side anyways, and see. I'm wanting to be careful with this to make sure this jam will turn out. Okay, I've pre-measured my 7 cups of sugar into my bowl. I'm going to pre-measure my 5 cups of strawberries into my pan, and then I'll add my half cup of pectin to my pan on the stove. So I've added my 5 cups of strawberries. I had exactly 5 cups with the water I added back to those freeze-dried strawberries, so my calculation should have been good. I will tell you, these smell just like I just put these through my food processor to prep them for making jam. I am really hopeful this is going to work. So next is to add my pectin. I buy my pectin in bulk from an Amish grocery store in Kelowna, Iowa. I find it to be much more reasonably priced that way. And that comes with a little jam book, so you know how much pectin to use when you make the jam according to their recipes using this pectin. So I've added my half cup of pectin, and now I'll get what I need to stir stuff up, and we'll get this cooked up. The key to jam is to get it to a rolling boil before you add the sugar, and then bring it back to a rolling boil, let it boil for 1 minute, get it off the heat, and then immediately start getting this in jars. So I'm not going to talk through this process, and I'll speed this up on the video just to show you the process in full. I'm happy to say we have jam. This turned out just like it would have if I had used fresh strawberries. So I'm super excited about this. The last thing left to do is to get this in jars. The top is kind of setting up already. The rest of it feels about the same. Like, this looks absolutely to be perfect jam. So we're going to get these in jars with lids on them. Really quick, the first jar is not such a big deal because I have a clean funnel, but you need to make sure you wipe your lids off, or lip of your jar off, before you put your lid on. to make sure you get a good seal. So let's go ahead and I'll get these all jarred up. I am so stoked this worked. I have, let's see here if I can show you, 5 jars of jam here and a little bit left over to eat fresh, which is what I expected. I always get 1 extra jar ready, and that's exactly what I had done. I know this turned out because I have good, thick, sticky jam on the inside of my funnel that I use to fill my jars. And it tastes just like when I make it from fresh strawberries. This is exciting because I would much rather just have that fruit sitting there ready to go in my supplies than have all these jars of jam sitting there taking up space on my shelf, because they take up a lot more space than a bag of strawberries does. This is a game changer. This is awesome. So yes, you can make jam from fruit that you prep and then freeze dry. You need to keep track of exactly how much water came out of that fruit. You want as much fruit as what your recipe says you're going to need, so you need to know what jam recipe you are using, but it works. So join me next time on Adventures in Freeze Drying. If you want more content like this, subscribe below. You can find my recipes on freezedryingcookbook.com. See you next time.